So I apologize. I think we did hit Wiz with the assassin attempt right there. My bad. Don't stop stream early purely because Wiz is live. Well, anyways, today we'll be reading more Lord of Mysteries. You do that often, no need. We're gonna be reading like 5 to 10 chapters. It's nothing too crazy, just because I do need to be in bed in like about 2 to 3 hours, just so I can stick to my weekly sleep schedule. So I was like, oh, let me read a little bit more before bedtime. So for now, Lord of Mysteries, chapter 1017. We're going to keep a very short and sweet intro, and then we're just going to straight into it. I think just for time's sake, it's pretty last minute. Yeah, it's pretty last minute. I think for time's sake, I'm going to just keep Verso, the song from Expedition 33 on loop. And I think that's going to be about it. 10, we know you mean 3. 5, 10, we know you mean 3. No. It's gonna be like 5 to 10. Pinky promise. Go report to Wiz. Got to report to Wiz. No, don't report him. Don't report him. This is between you and me, guys. I know. I apologize. All right. Honorific time. The reader who stalls for eternity. The tamer of beasts and dogs. The one who farms. LOTM. Easy geeky. Bit loud, perhaps right now. Ooh. Okay. All right. Awesome. Good song. Awesome. Oh, if it's a bit loud, I can lower it. I know it's a little bit loud on my end. I got you. All right. Chapter 117. Chapter 1017 is called Maygur Manor, Backland Emperorsboro on the outskirts towards the northwest. This was a place that needed more than an hour via horse carriage. Maygur Manor was built by the side of the Tussock River, so it had beautiful scenery around it with flourishing vegetation within its confines. Strangely enough, Backland City area had perennial rain with relatively few sunny days. However, in the outskirts, clouds tend to be thin, and the sun was always bright. Despite the short distance, the two places had completely different weather. It was most obvious within the northwestern outskirts. It was even a rather famous grape plantation in the northern continent, and by following the Tussock River from the region northwest for another 50 kilometers, one would encounter weather similar to Backland City area. Such situations left meteorologists puzzled. I cannot read that word for the life of me. Meteorologists puzzled. They couldn't find any suitable theories to explain the reason. However, Klein had a vague guess. In the fourth epoch, this was the capital of the Tudor Turnusset United Empire. It was also here that the Blood Emperor at least abandoned his humanity and became a crazy deity. Therefore, it was normal that the weather of the terrain had changed forever in those very small confines. Leonardo Mitchell had once again mentioned information about this during one of the free exchanges. Furthermore, as an area with a long history and signs of early human activity, this land of hope, buried content, ancient ruins, it was very possible that they could have an influence on the weather. The carriage drove into Maygur Manor, passing by the fountain pond and a small garden that was surrounded by the main building. Finally, it stopped outside of the main door. Just as Klein got out of the carriage with butler Walter, he saw the land steward Richardson lead 2 rows of male and female servants by the door, awaiting their employer. Compared to 160 Buckland Street, there were more servants here than they were mainly lower class servants. Looking at Richardson wearing a spanking new suit, Klein nodded with a smile. Well done. Without waiting for Richardson to reply, he took off his hat and handed it along with his cane to his valet, Uni, while asking, have you prepared the activity room for the ladies to chat and for men to play cards in? Yes, sir. I've placed poker, cards, tarot cards, and some board games. The piano, violin, and other common musical instruments have also been moved inside. Richardson answered eloquently. Klein passed through the door and nodded. Where is the smoking room for the gentlemen? Like the ladies, it's all on the second floor. They're separated by 5 rooms. Richardson didn't need the servants in a manner to remind him. Distributed the stream with some good moments. Really? Oh man. Oh, now I'm kind of worried, dude. He didn't even need to recall to give an answer. To ensure that his employer first hunting excursion was flawless, he had taken note of every nitty-gritty detail. Although it exhausted him physically, he was excited mentally. Klein asked about dinner and the guest rooms and confirmed that everything was in place. Before long, he received the first batch of guests after Maygur Manor had a change of name, not known as Dante's Manor. Member of Parliament Mach and his family. This place is much bigger than my Moose Manor. It's Moose, not Moe's Manor, right? Moose Manor. Mach took off his coat with a smile and handed it to the servant while praising. I've always heard of Major's wine being of excellent quality, but I've never had the chance of tasting it. I can finally have my curiosity satisfied today. I hope that you won't be disappointed. Klein smiled modestly. As a famous area from the grape plantations in the northern continent, champagne, red wine, and white wine were considered the finest in Backland's northwestern outskirts. I don't like drinking wine, man. I don't know about you guys. I'm not a fan of wine. But with the manor here mainly owned by the nobles, self-brewed alcoholic beverages were typically not sold to the public. Therefore, it was almost unheard of. Only people from high society or those related to them would often know of this. Manor was one of the most iconic manors. The wine that it brewed was widely praised by the people in the know. Red wine of certain years was even offered at more than £100 if a bottle by collectors. However, for Klein to be able to buy this manor for £20,000, he naturally had to agree to certain conditions. All the wine from certain years were to be taken away by Duke Negan's servant. Mocht was rather clear about this and didn't expect to drink famous commodities. He said with a laugh, "You can open a few bottles and pour a small glass of each for me. Let me decide which of the remaining wine is most spectacular." As a member of high society, he had never even tasted the wine of Manor. The reason was simple. He had a member of the new party, and the previous owner, Duke Negan, was the main sponsor of the Conservative Party. No problem, Klein immediately agreed as his gaze swept across Hazel's face. Compared to July and August, this girl had clearly cheered up. She no longer felt apprehensive when facing strangers. Previously, it was as bad as not willing to participate in any banquets or balls. This made those familiar with him think that she was sick, and this was all thanks to Audrey. Whenever she met Dwayne Dantes at the Low and Charity Bursey Foundation, she had mentioned that she had recently met Miss Hazel Mocht twice. Such communication didn't seem problematic at first glance, since Hazel was a common acquaintance of Audrey and Dantes. Finding a topic about a common friend with common and idle chatter, however, Klein could read Miss Justice's hints of understood that she had met Hazel twice at different balls and banquets and had treated her twice. After getting Moch finally setting in, Klein welcomed the second batch of guests for the weekend hunting trip. Brigadier General Conis Kilgore, who had come up with a friend that had previously mentioned. Klein knew this friend, but he didn't know Dwayne Dantes. He was a steam car mogul. Framing Cage, he was one of the main investors of the bicycle projects. He had relied on a lawyer suspected to be a beyonder with the lawyer sequence and had bought the... Oh, that was mentioned in Volume 2. Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah. The other lawyer was mentioned like way back in Volume 2. He had relied on a lawyer suspected to be a beyonder with a lawyer sequence and had bought the 10% shares from Sherlock Moriarty at a cheap price. Since he related to a lawyer, it can be explained that he's an Earl of the Fallen Friends. Klein went forward with a smile and hugged Brigadier General Conis and Frammy Cage. Welcome. He then stepped back and said to the porty, light blue eyes Framus, who was a quarter Fasuk, "I heard your steam car is very famous. Why didn't you drive it over?" Before Frammy could answer, the manly Conis Kilgore said with a smile, "No, you don't understand him. He will never give up the chance to showcase his steam car. However, the car's too heavy." Didn't it kind of look like a tank? On the other, yo, what's up, dude? Mr. Useful? Yo, what's up, dude? What's up, guys? On the way here, it fell into a ditch and couldn't be pulled out. Thankfully, I never believed his claims and rode on a carriage myself, following behind him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to cover the remaining distance on foot. The main problem is that our roads are terrible. They need to be reinvented and rebuilt. They need metal tracks to be paved, just like the steam locomotives. Framus retorted and threw his hands up. "I was planning on seeking some investments from you. We can talk about it later. You were the one who invested in us previously, but now you're asking me for the investment." Only then did Klein realize that he was a rather famous tycoon in the upper class of the kingdom. He has donated shares worth more than £10,000 and had purchased an expensive manor. He also established connections with the military, so it was an obvious he was rich. Damn. He's stacked. But in fact, my current net worth is only 50 to 60,000 gold pounds, perhaps a tenth of Mistress's wealth. I wonder when I can really become a tycoon with a net worth of £1 million. Klein thought in self-deprecating manner. After some thought, he said, "It's fine. I'm very interested in the fusion of machinery and steam. When I'm free, I can take a look at your steam car." Yeah, I can take a look at your steam car. Speculator Framus immediately said with a smile, "If I didn't know that you had donated a large sum to the Church of the Evernight, I might even think of you as a believer of the God of Steam. I've drawn the triangular sacred emblem on my chest in the past after all." Klein didn't continue on this topic, afraid that Kunis would discover his intentions. He pointed to the staircase and said, "Why don't you head to the smoking room and try some of the prized cigar collections here?" It wasn't until I bought this manor that I learned that there was a room specifically for storing cigars. Its temperature and humidity are maintained, but as you know, I can smoke, but I don't like it. Not bad. Do you have Chieftain? Conis Kilgore's face sufficed to smile. Of course, Klein gave a positive answer. There was only one goal in organizing this hunting trip. It was to hunt the Brigadier General, Deputy Director of MI9. Therefore, he had taken into consideration all his performances. However, Klein was in a hurry to take action for his hunting trip. This is because he still lacked an understanding of the Conis Kilgore's actual strength as a hidden demigod. Oh my god, I forgot he's a hidden demigod. Dwayne on his way to creating Steam F1 Trust. Hey man, now I find that really funny because I'm into F1. I understood that joke. He needs more gathering and hunts to figure out his preferences, level of alertness, and the items he brought with him. As the magician climbed in and performed unprepared, an apartment in Sherwood Borough, Force put down the book in her hand and looked up at Shio, who was pacing around the activity room. She couldn't help but ask, "What are you troubling about?" Shio shot her a glance and said, "I'm frustrated over whether to inform MI9 about Viscount Stratford's close relationship with an unknown woman, or to keep it from them until there's further development. We should probably report it." "Why are you keeping it from them?" Force first asked in return before giving her an answer. "Viscount Stratford is related to your father's death, but you normally lack the opportunity and strength to confront him. Afraid of being exposed and affecting your mother and brother, and now he might encounter an accident because of an unknown woman. He's in a relatively easy to deal with state. This is your opportunity, sir. You're being hesitant, right?" Shio fell silent for a moment before saying yes. Force closed the book, stared at her friend, and said in a serious manner, "Since you're hesitating, it means you're already inclined towards one option." Shio slowly nodded and said yes. Force fondled her slightly long curly hair and stood up, extended her right hand and said, "I already know your decision. Well, do you need help?" Seeing Shio hesitant to give an answer, she laughed and said, "I'm a Sequence 6 Beyonder." Without waiting for Shio to answer, she looked around. "If you're worried we can still seek additional help," she was implying that they could get help from the members of the Terror Club. Shio thought about it and exhaled. Not for now. Let's try it first. Let's head out and continue monitoring Viscount Stratford." Now, Force was taken aback. "All right, but before that, let me use the crystal ball to do some astronomy to confirm the level of danger." "High danger, maybe?" After some work, she held a pure crystal ball in one hand and said, "There's a certain level of danger, but not severe danger." Okay, that's good to know. Chapter 1018 is called Unexpected, just like the stream, very unexpected. So I apologize, especially for the double ravings. Emperor's Board, by the side of Viscount Stratford's mansion, Force and Shio, who were dressed in black dresses, hid in a dark corner. They stared intently at the tightly closed metal gates as they patiently waited for their target to appear. It wasn't raining tonight, so they didn't have to face harsh weather conditions. The carriage that remained parked by the side of the street lamps made it clear to them that their patience would be rewarded. It was only a matter of time. Lighting's pretty good, yeah? Awesome. After an unknown period of time, the gates produced a heavy metal groans as they slowly opened. A figure in a black cloak appeared with its head bowed. The figure walked to the side of the carriage and nimbly boarded the carriage. "Is that her?" Force lowered her voice and asked. She didn't have a beyond power that could restore a target's characteristic for a mere description, and she had never seen her before. Therefore, she couldn't rely on her spiritual intuition or astronomy to make a judgment. Shio nodded in affirmation and said yes. As they quietly conversed, the rental carriage sped up and left the side gates. Shio immediately left her hiding spot, prepared to use her shares beyond her powers and the physical enhancement that being an interrogator gave her to lock onto her target while jogging. I need a picture. I can't picture that. She's just jogging. "What are you doing?" At that moment, Force pressed down on her shoulder, foiling her plans. Track her. Shio looked at the back of her friend in puzzlement. "Doing good and mysterious?" Force looked at the rental carriage that hadn't completely pulled away from them and asked thoughtfully, "Why are you tracking her for? Also, didn't you say that the target has a rather powerful beyonder protecting her once you enter the Backland Bridge area?" "That's right." She'll first answer the second question before saying, "Your question is very odd. The reason you track someone is to determine the target's appearance, identity, and motives." Force retracted her left hand from Shio's shoulder and revealed a smile. "Since the target is protected by a rather powerful beyonder, it will be difficult for us to complete the tracking in the Backland Bridge area. We won't be able to find her resistance and figure out her true identity. Do you wish to directly fight her guardian? Although you have me to help, are you certain about the person's strength? How certain are you? Will it be very dangerous? Besides, once the battle begins, it will definitely alarm the target. This is the same as stopping the carriage midway and confronting her directly. It will foil your primary objective. It will alarm Viscount Stratford and prevent him from falling into a predicament that will offer you a chance to take action. If we do it, then there's a possibility of failure, but a failure is certain if we do nothing." Shio emphasized that she knew the situation well. All she wanted was to make an attempt and find an opportunity midway. At this moment, the rental carriage had already turned into another street at the end of the road. Force watched with the back of the gradually disappear as she shook her head and smiled. No, we need to change our way of thinking. We should first attempt to figure out the target's appearance. After daybreak, we can use her appearance to perform normal investigations of Backland Bridge area and then obtain information from other channels. Your choice of words is very professional," Shio said in thought. Music changed when she enters the carriage. When she enters the carriage. Of course, Vanita's carriage. Got it. "Of course, I've written detector knowledge before." Force answered without any sense of mobility. "But how do I figure out what the target looks like without alerting her?" Shio raised the most critical question. I already have the music ready. Prepared, Force took out layman's travels instead of a small elementary, using the psychological invisibility Miss Justice recorded. Although Audrey didn't encounter any situations that require her to use layman's travels, she had rented it thrice out of curiosity. She studied the uses of traits of the Beyonder powers recorded, and she recorded her own Beyonder powers into it. This included the rather useful psychological invisibility. So not only do assassins have invisibility, but seers have not seers. Spectators have invisibility. I found that cool. I'm trying to remember what else has invisibility. As for her true identity, XIO and FORS were increasingly certain of it, but they didn't directly ask about further investigations. That was the most basic form of respect. I didn't skip something, right? No, I didn't. That was the most basic form of respect towards the other Terror Club members. After hearing her friend's answer, XIO came to realization and was instantly inspired. They have psychological invisibility. Got it. You know, I remember it's like they don't even like sense them. And also how you can like also manipulate their minds. That's fucking scary, dude. I can't get over that. Spectre has well, it's like not true invisibility, but like psychological invisibility. But it's kind of still invisibility, give or take, but in like a different sense. FORS continued, by using the Beyond powers on this page, but no, I get you guys. Thank you. By using the Beyond powers on this page, you will be placed in the sensory blind spots of all surrounding creatures. They wouldn't be able to see you even if they were to jump around in front of them. Oh, she's going to go into carriage. That way, you can directly board the carriage and stand in front of the target, openly taking in her appearance and remember all her traits. I sometimes think about people who use psychological invisibility might end up being squashed to death by huge creatures that happen to walk past if they're unlucky. Yeah, that's a little unlucky. What's up, bro? Oh, what's up? Hello. Oh, don't make too much noise later. Don't speak to any nearby creatures or else you will garner attention. Let psychological invisibility be dispelled automatically. Yeah, XIO nodded. Wait, let it be dispelled automatically? Yeah, XIO nodded. She then raised another issue. How do I prevent the target from discovering the sudden opening of the carriage door while it's driving? Without waiting for FORS to reply, she merely pressed, did you record the door opening beyond her powers? Guess. FORS smiled as she handed layman's travels to her friend, telling her which page the psychological invisibility and door opening were on. Damn, what a good friend, dude. With this in mind, XIO immediately ran amidst the shadows, chasing after the rental carriage. Before long, she saw her target. Her right hand immediately trembled as she made the bronze green notebook reveal a yellowish-brown goatskin page. She slid her fingers gently as XIO seemed to see countless rippling lights appear on the surface of a deep lake spread outwards. This is good. We'll see you next stream. No, it's all good, bro. You want to sleep? No, it's all good, bro. I know it's a very last-minute stream. I know it's also getting pretty late on my end. Spread outwards. When her vision returned to normal, she sped up and rushed to the side of the carriage. To ensure nothing went wrong, XIO didn't immediately take action. With few wide strides, she overtook the horse. She then turned around as though she was crossing the road. However, the carriage driver didn't notice her, nor did her shout at her to rein in the horse. After confirming the effects of psychological invisibility, she sped up and dodged a horse galloping and came to the side of the carriage. After a brief observation, she flipped through layman's travels and revealed a white page covered in white strange patterns and symbols. Then she reached out her right hand and pressed onto its surface of the carriage. Her figure instantly turned transparent and she appeared inside. All right, she's inside. Music change. The woman in the black coat was sitting diagonally opposite her as she was in thought, staring at the glass window where XIO stood. However, she didn't notice the bounty hunter who had suddenly infiltrated. At such a close distance, even with her cloak lowered, she was able to see her face clearly. Furthermore, the woman wasn't as careful as she was while walking outside. Her every action appeared rather casual as the hood was only at her eyes. Instantly, her appearance was reflected in XIO's eyes, overlapping with a face that still had some male characteristics. This was beyond the power of a sheriff. Oh, so she can identify it, right? XIO's eyes widened. She couldn't help but shout, Sherman. She couldn't foresee that the woman... Oh, wait, she knew Sherman. Right? She met Sherman when she was with Audrey at one point, with Audrey and FORS. She could foresee that the woman who often entered Viscount Stratford's residence was rather beautiful, but she never expected the woman to be her friend Sherman. He was once a young man. Yeah, she knew her. Yeah, she knew him. Well, she knew Shermaine when she was Sherman. Yeah. A man who wasn't considered androgynous now looked beautiful. He had the charm of a woman, and at that moment, XIO couldn't help but size up Sherman. She couldn't associate her figure with that young man that she used to know with each other. I forgot they knew each other. If it wasn't for her sheriff beyond her powers that allowed her to confirm that the person opposite to her was Sherman, XIO definitely would have imagined that she had made a mistake. And even so, she still suspected whether the person wasn't Sherman and was instead Sherman's twin sister. I remember we thought that for Trissy. I was like, wait, are they twins? Upon hearing the surprise question, Sherman realized that there was another person in the carriage at some point in time, someone unfamiliar. Oh. Okay, bounty hunter XIO Derecha, having already changed her name to Shermaine, she was first alarmed, but the words Trissy often mentioned instinctively appeared in her mind. You cannot meet people you used to know. Do you want your husband you believe to know of your former state? Only by completely serving your connections can you be reborn. Doing so in order to save yourself. Such words quickly flashed across Shermaine's mind as a terrifying thought emerged in her. Oh, fuck you, no. As a terrifying thought emerged in her thoughts, kill her? This thought seemed to come from a demon in the abyss as it constantly whispered in Charmaine's ear as it resounded in her heart. Kill her. Kill this person who recognized you. Only by doing so can you truly escape the past and not lose to the present. Kill her. Charmaine didn't answer Shio's question. Her left hand slowly clenched up while slightly trembling. Shio sensed the tense emotions running through the mind opposite her and confirmed that it was Sherman. Immediately she asked in turn, how did you become like this? Oh, hell. Don't fucking kill. Hell no, dude. Where have you been all this time? Did you encounter something? Were you hurt? Charmaine's lips quivered as her left fist relaxed a little. She said with a sobbing tone, I've already begun a new life. Don't disturb me again, alright? I don't want to lose everything I have now. I don't want to see people that I knew in the past. The more she spoke, the faster it became more obvious that it was a plea. She was taken aback for a few seconds before staring at Sherman. Pursing her lips, she said, okay. She didn't say any... Oh, because they're friends. It's like, you go, please. Don't make me kill you. She didn't stay any longer, reached out to open a carriage window and jumped out. Charmaine silently watched this entire process and finally exhaled before she slumped into her seat like she had lost all her strength. I love this arc. It's good, dude. It wasn't easy for her to control the demon in her heart. At this moment, she saw a figure rapidly outline itself out of thin air beside her. The figure wore a black, old-fashioned dress, but it didn't diminish her beauty and disposition. Black dress. It's not Sharon. It wouldn't make sense that it's Sharon. She sat there silently without a word. Is it? But it... Oh, fucking shit. But it was impossible to not look at her. Fuck. Demoness Trissy. You want to join the Tarot Club? You don't have to kill her. Why didn't you kill her? Oh, no. No. Fuck you. Really? No, it's not going to happen. Trissy asked with a smile, not revealing any gloominess. It was like an idle chat with her would ask what she had drunk the previous night. She's one of the few people who didn't ostracize me. She even helped me. Charmaine replied in shock before frowning. Why are you here? Trissy smiled and said, I am protecting you. Without waiting for Charmaine's answer, she said, you've seemed to be in a good mood when you came out. Charmaine recalled what had happened and bashfully said, maybe perhaps I have a chance of becoming a mother. As she spoke, she touched her stomach with her... No fucking way she's pregnant. Recalled what had happened and bashfully said, maybe perhaps I have a chance of becoming a mother. As she spoke, she touched her stomach with her right hand. The corners of her lips couldn't help but curl up. I feel... Oh, next music? Oh, shit. No need for me to stay for them? Okay. Oh, shit. I didn't know it's 4 a.m. I'm so sorry. No fucking way. I feel... Oh, Charmaine is so fucking dead. I feel him kicking me. This has to be part of Trissy's plan. Charmaine suddenly froze and blurted, how could it be so fast? Oh, no, dude. Oh, it's not a regular baby. Oh, hell no. I feel him kicking me. No fucking way, but she just became a woman. How the fuck does that make any sense? We literally skipped a trimester. How does that make any sense? Charmaine suddenly froze and blurted, how could it be so fast? She wasn't sure if she could get pregnant today. Upon seeing her reaction, Trissy smiled even more charmingly. Oh, hell no. Babies are always scary? Oh, hell no, man. Oh, man. Then the next 10 years, some of us are going to become parents, and it's going to be kind of scary, man. Like, oh, hell no. Oh, shit. Chapter 1019, brothers and sisters. Next chapter, dude. All right, chapter 1019 is called Patience, my young Padawan. Oh, hell no. Which god spawn are you? That's what I want to know. It has to be part of Demoness. Maybe it's Cheek in some way. Like, maybe, you know how they were trying to set up Trissy as a vessel? Maybe she was able to... Oh, maybe she was able to channel her vessel to Charmaine in some way. How was it? Did you take a good look? I didn't pause. Everything's updated, correct? Yes. Okay, we're good. How was it? Did you take a good look? Just as FORS left the streets where Viscount Stratford mansion was, she saw Shio walk out of a down and vacant expression. Shio nodded hesitantly. I did. Having said that, she seemed to come to her senses and said in shock, I know her, know him. Him, forcefully confused, Shio habitually observed her surroundings before saying, he's Sherman, the Sherman I told you about. He actually became a woman. FORS was stunned as she subconsciously asked, were you mistaken? Hell no, or it could be a phantom pregnancy? I don't know, man. Wait, have we seen a phantom pregnancy? I don't think we have, no? Or it's like a spirit? Could she be Sherman's sister? She firmly shook her head. So, no, she admitted it herself and even told me not to disturb her. She wants to bid farewell to her past, but how did he become a woman? FORS' eyes darted around as she suddenly recalled something she said and thought, it's not impossible either. There's a beyond pathway that allows a man to become a woman at a certain stage. She recalled Miss Justice mentioning something similar during a free exchange session. I don't think we saw it. Ah, really? Shio widened as she asked in disbelief. Yes. FORS had already recalled the exact conditions and gave a rather confident answer. Yeah, like, if we can do a freaking ritual for a god to descend, or, like, have a god spawn, or, like, a god seed in it, I don't know. Maybe it could also be a spirit. This Shio was momentarily unable to accept it, but she couldn't find a rebuttal. All she could do was ask, which pathway is it? FORS replied, Demoness. It's the assassin pathway. Demoness. Sherman actually became a Demoness. Shio repeated to herself. Suddenly her voice became louder. Could it be that she's been taken advantage of? No, I must warn her. Just as she said that, Shio turned around and ran with great strides in an attempt to catch up with the rental carriage again. However, she couldn't find the target after attempting to pursue it for a few blocks. Sherman and the carriage seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Shio gradually slowed down and finally stopped. She looked at the bustling streets ahead of her with a complicated expression. Behind her, FORS passed through a few walls and finally caught up. Gone, Shio whispered. FORS also cast her gaze forward and thoughtfully replied, we were discovered. Without waiting for Shio to speak, she also turned around and sighed. Let's return and find another opportunity. Shio didn't take a step forward as she continued standing there. After a few seconds, she said under FORS' puzzled gaze, since they discovered a problem, will they speed up the plans ahead of time? Maybe. It's possible. If they don't wish for their plans to be full, they might attempt one final strike tonight before we're prepared. FORS immediately agreed with Shio. Let's return to the Viscount Stratford's place and hide in a more concealed spot. We'll continue monitoring it. Shio immediately nodded and replied without any hesitation. Okay. In the dock area inside a warehouse with plenty of goods, Charmaine was sitting on a dirty wooden crate. Her hands were crossed behind her back as her body had thin but firm spider webs coiled around her. Oh, what the fuck? She appeared as though she was encased in it. Oh, wait. What the fuck is going on here? I don't know, man. Wait. She appeared as though she was encased in a transparent cocoon. What the fuck? Unable to make a single sound. It's not a bad thing for you. Trissy stood in front of Charmaine with a pitch black flame that resembled ink burning in her palm. Oh, what the fuck, man. Now I feel bad for Charmaine, dude. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing for you. Trissy stood in front of Charmaine with a pitch black flame that resembled the ink burning in her palm. At the very least, you can determine if he really loves you or is lying to you. Charmaine was angered and afraid. She desperately used her whimpers to express her wish, but Trissy was unmoved. She turned her flame-wielding palm around and pressed it into Charmaine's stomach. The flames seemed to have intelligence as they scattered like flowing water. Following that, they penetrated her skin and flesh in an attempt to drill inside. Trissy's smooth black hair flared up in defiance of the laws of nature. They were being pulled by invisible hands as they extended out in every direction. It stained the surroundings air with a peculiar smell. The strands of hair thickened as they scattered into distinct strands. Beneath them, dark beams of light surged, bringing about curses and worms that flowed, rapidly fusing into pitch-black flames. Upon entering Sherman's stomach, they quickly vanished. Sherman's face twitched uncontrollably, but she didn't feel any pain. It was as though it was purely on reflex. She soon calmed down as she saw Trissy's figure turn faint and gradually turn transparent until it vanished. Sherman's pupils widened as she struggled again, but she was unable to break free from her restraints. She tried again and again, like a flood was rising centimeter by centimeter inside the silent warehouse. After an unknown period of time, the door to the warehouse opened with a thud and slumped into the two sides of the wall. A figure staggered in. It was the middle-aged Viscount Stratford. Okay, it's him. He didn't wear his white wig like he always did while outside. This revealed his rather high receding hairline and rather messy black hair. The latter was stuck together as though it had been drenched by a storm and was air dried, but in the past few hours the clouds were thin and the crimson moon high in the sky. It hadn't rained at all. Drops of sweat dripped down Viscount Stratford's rather cut facial contours as they were countless black threads flowing beneath his skin. His body was slightly hunched and his facial muscles were somewhat twisted. His eyes were filled with pain and concern. He surveyed the area and said with delighted when he found Charmaine. However, he turned anxious as he charred over without much confidence. You can change the music to fight music already? Really? All right, I'll trust for. Wait, let me at least finish the page before I change. When Charmaine saw him enter the warehouse, wait, who entered? Wait, his body was slightly hunched. Wait, drops of sweat. Oh wait, it's him, the Viscount Stratford. When Charmaine saw him enter the warehouse, his face lit up as though it was covered in a halo. She then revealed a worried and fearful expression as she attempted to shake her head frantically. However, her neck was held firmly by the spider webs that prevented her movements. Really? She reeled in anxiety to the point of tears flowing out of her eyes, drop after drop, crystalline and frail. So, I don't know, Stratford maybe does love her. And he probably isn't using her. Just as Viscount Stratford was about to reach her, a loud bang suddenly rang out between the two. Ooh, fight music. All right, we're going old school. We're playing walls closing in, right? A loud bang, this was my place. A loud bang suddenly rang out between the two. Okay, so fight time. It was as though there was an invisible wall that separated him from Charmaine, one that couldn't be surpassed. It has to be Shu on FORS. If you wish to break the curse and take her away, you have to answer my question without hiding anything. At this moment, a figure quickly appeared in the corner of the warehouse. Her her facial features were charming, forming together into an abnormally sweet look. She resembled the lover that every young lad would fantasize about in his youth. She was none other than Demoness Trissy. Wait. Wasn't Demoness Trissy the one there? Wait. Without waiting for Viscount Stratford to respond, she raised her right hand and conjured a pitch-black flame. Okay, so it is her. Okay. Viscount Stratford's face, hands, neck, exposed skin instantly turned transparent as they protruded with blood vessels, and in every blood vessel there was a black flame silently burning as if flowed silently. The pain in Viscount Stratford's eyes immediately reached a peak, but it vanished the next moment. His expression turned extremely cold as a jibbing look appeared in his eyes. It was as though the one being cursed wasn't him, but Trissy, who was a distance away. Trissy, who was in the corner of the warehouse, suddenly burst into black flames. Dense, countless spider webs appeared, but that couldn't be lit up. In the blink of an eye, Trissy was like Charmaine, being sealed inside a transparent cocoon. Who's the one using the cocoon abilities? Every young lad dreams of. We are young lads, so she looks like what you like the most. Is that what it is? Is that an ability? She couldn't move or escape. Wait, who's the one doing the whole transparent cocoon shit? In a ventilation vent high above the warehouse, a figure appeared. Oh, it was a woman whose age wasn't obvious. She wore a simple and sacred white robe. She had black hair, blue eyes, looking sweet and beautiful, giving off an indescribable charm. Oh, it's Katerina. No, it's a joke. Oh, it's Katerina. Katerina Pele. Trissy seemed to expand all her strength before she shouted a name. At this moment, Viscount Stratford grabbed at his body, pulling out the illusory doll covered in thick black flames. Okay, awesome. It's her. Okay, I know it's not the cocoons from the ending of Volume 4, but I'm like, oh man, the last time we saw cocoons, it was the ending of Volume 4. He glanced, so I'm like, oh shit, where are the similarities here? You know, no such thing as a coincidence, but no, it's different. He glanced at Charmaine and smiled at Trissy. When it comes to matters related to life, I would never be careless. After that fellow Sykes died, I knew that it would be my turn one day. Since you're hunting me, it means that there are obviously others who wish to hunt you. We're very apparent afraid of scaring you away. We did nothing and waited until today. Also, your gift was pretty good. Your gift. Upon hearing Viscount Stratford's words, Charmaine, who was still struggling out of habit, instantly stopped moving. Her expression turned blank. Her eyes widened, but there wasn't any focus. The look in her eyes seemed to sink deeper and deeper. Love. Trissy suddenly laughed, seemingly mocking herself. She wasn't nervous at all. Maygur Manor, night had fallen. Wait, we're just switching POVs? Demoness can use silk if you remember. I forgot about that. Manor Manor, night had fallen. After selling more than 20 guests and preparing the hunting trip the next day, Klein woke up not long after he had fallen asleep. His intuition had been triggered as a scene formed in his mind. Brigadier General Conus Kilgore, who was wearing a shirt and pants, had flown out of the guest room's window in secret. He landed outside in the complete defiance of the laws of nature. I haven't even taken action. He came here of his own goals. With a thought, Klein controlled a cockroach. I forgot he can control like freaking insects now. Without a thought, Klein controlled a cockroach outside and turned it into his marionette. He then used its eyes to observe the surroundings. Almost at the same time, Conus Kilgore appeared. After this demigod left Manor Manor, he merely distorted the distance and quickly arrived at the bank of the Tussock River. He prepared himself to cross it. The cockroach watched quietly without any reaction. He's heading for the southern bank of the Tussock River. What does he want to do? Does he have the performance of hunting in the suburbs so that he can attempt to conceal such actions? He's also introduced Manor Manor to me for this reason. Klein lay in bed and quick and seriously analyzed Conus' actions. After the MI9 demigod stepped onto the south bank of the Tussock River, Klein suddenly recalled the matter. Back when he escaped the underground ruins where Ince and... Oh, man, that was so long ago, dude. That was so long ago, dude. Back when he escaped the underground ruins where Ince, Zengwil, and company were, he appeared somewhere in the northwest of Backland. This was the south bank of the Tussock River, making it rather close to where Manor Manor was. Damn, dude. Wow, it's been so long since we've seen that one. Means of Demoness is the next chapter. All right, let's keep reading. Before I read this chapter, the freaking Magoose neck came in, and it just doesn't fit, bro. It's too big. I'm so fucking mad. 13 inches down the drain. Look at that. 13 inches for nothing, man. Damn, now we got to return it. The chapter 1000. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. But my day isn't ruined because I'm streaming with you guys and we're reading more Lord of the Mysteries. So that's okay. The day has been saved. Chapter 1020 is called Means of a Demoness. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. We'll return it. Means of a Demoness. As his thoughts raced, Klein suddenly switched positions with his valet Uni, who was in the opposite room. And under a grapevine 150 meters from this manor's main building, a slowly crawling centipede suddenly stiffened before it relaxed. Almost at the same time, its body vanished from its location. Dwayne Dantes and his blue-white checkered pajama had appeared. Klein had swapped places with his marionette again. He decided to use this method to secretly tell Conus Kilgore and figure out where he was going to or what he was planning on doing. Although he could only move 150 meters at a time, it took 2 to 3 seconds in between moves due to the process of turning the target into a marionette. It was more concealing compared to the flame jump or teleport. It made it difficult for Conus Kilgore to detect him. After all, he was dealing with a demigod. He's dealing with another fucking demigod fight, dude. Oh shit, after all, it's a demigod, dude. After all, he was dealing with a demigod. Even in the domains where one's spiritual intuition wasn't the best, a demigod wasn't to be underestimated. By the same logic, Klein didn't reply on Creeping Hunger to hide in the shadows. This was because it was relatively slow, even though it concealed him rather well. It was impossible for him to catch up to the demigod. I like this fight, really? Damn. All right. Under the dark night sky for Manor to the south bank of the Tussock Rivers, the rats, snakes, spiders, and there were active, and the stench of land stiffened up and turned sluggish. They were covered in marionettes, one after another. With their help, Klein constantly moved without causing a stir. Soon he arrived in the south bank of the Tussock River. After catching up to Conus Kilgore, he maintained a distance of 1 kilometer. The fuck is a kilometer, man? I know. Isn't kilometer twice? 1 kilometer? No. Wait, hold up. When I played Pokemon Go, instead of 1 kilometer is like 2.1 miles. No. Or is it backwards? Shit, man. I don't know my kilometers. I know my miles, okay? I don't know if one is 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. To a bizarre sorcerer, even if his marionette were to go beyond his range of control, it wouldn't immediately escape from its control state or die immediately. 1 kilometer is 1.6 miles, I think. Isn't it 2? It's like 3 liters, man. Come on. 3 liters. It's about... What's a liter? I know my gallons, okay? I only know American units, okay? I don't know the other sides of the world's units, okay? I know American units, and that's it. Therefore, Klein wasn't aware that he would lose Uni when he was lying in bed. While he did his tailing, as long as he returned with 10 meters, he could continue controlling his marionette. Silently, Klein followed Conus Kilgore as they went upstairs, passing through the dense forest. They climbed up a mountain beside the bank. At this moment, Conus Kilgore, who wasn't wearing a vest or coat, suddenly stopped. He checked his surroundings and widened his range of his search, as though he was trying to claim his territory. Upon seeing this, Klein didn't dare to stay any longer. He merely switched places with his marionettes and retreated repeatedly, pulling away to a distance of nearly 3 kilometers from a deputy director of MI9. At this moment, he gave up control of his marionettes ahead of him. The death of a few bugs wouldn't incur any suspicion. This was all too common for the outskirts and in the forests. King of the Five Seas Nests can create a founding environment that's favorable for him, while Conus Kilgore, who was also a Black Emperor Pathway demigod, had the ability to democrate such a region. Damn, dude. No, I'm wrong. I think a mile is 1.6 kilometers. Got it. Yeah, I googled it. A mile is 1.6 kilometers. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So what would I do about you guys? He can change, boost, and use a certain rule and make whoever tells him expose themselves without being able to hide. It's very possible. Klein warily took out a gold coin he placed in his pajama pocket. He ran it through his fingers and flipped it. This time he deliberately controlled his strength and didn't produce a flicking sound. So it's silent. So there's no sound, it's just silent. The gold coin flew up in silence and landed on his palm. That's fucking cool. Without needing to look down, the gold coin's face was naturally reflected in his mind. It was heads. This meant that the anomaly ahead contained extreme danger. Alright. As expected of demigods, such abilities sure are enviable. However, do you think you can avoid being tailing? Klein scoffed inwardly and found an abnormally secluded spot and made himself turn into German Sparrow. Following that, he clasped his hands and pressed it into his mouth, whispering, "Blessed of the sea and spirit world, guardian of the roasted archipelago, ruler of the undersea creatures, master of tsunamis and storms, the great Kavatua." After praying, Klein immediately lowers the volume on stream just a smidge. After praying, Klein immediately took 4 steps counterclockwise and arrived above the gray fog. He sat at a full seat and beckoned for the bone specter with blue gems embedded at its tip. This, with the help of his prayer, he utilized Sea God Scepter, responding to believers and saw through the area around Germansboro. He then raised his field of view and took in the surrounding area. Using this as the origin, he expanded his vision to 5 nocturnal miles. This was the limit of the Sea God Spectre could observe with the help of its believers. And this way, the area where Conus Kilgore had designated one that no object could escape his notice appeared in Klein's vision. In the dock area inside a warehouse with plenty of goods. I scrolled down too much. Love. Okay, so we're going back to Tricity. Dude, thank you for subscribing. Love. After Trissy chuckled, her figure grew faint, and though she was bathed in the luster of a lake at night. In the blink of an eye, Trissy, who had been bound tightly with layers of silk by Demoness of unaging Katerina Pele, turned into an illusory mirror. It was a full bot. Wait, she can turn into a Rhodes? Wait, is this where a Rhodes' abilities come from? Turned into an illusionary mirror. It was a full-body mirror, taller than a person. Aku's light shimmered within a ghostly halo grew out of it as though it was a door leading to another world. At that moment, it didn't reflect the scene in front of it. Instead, it outlined a room. The room was dimly lit. The bed with furniture had been diced up into countless small pieces, which were scattered everywhere. Only the central region was spick and span? Spick. What the hell is a spick? Spick and span. Trissy stood there wearing a dark black dress, her hair cascaded down smoothly as it fluttered in the wind. Accentuating her face's abnormal fairness, she looked like a female ghost and spoken in folktales. She wasn't actually present and was using the illusory mirror to project her figure and strength remotely. It was as though everything was real, therefore she wasn't flustered at all when she was being controlled and haunted. Upon seeing the scene, Katerina Pele, who wore simple and holy white robes, didn't hesitate to let out a shriek. Invisible waves quickly spread out as her hair flared up, each strand clear and distinct. They were thick and dyed with grayish-white color. The illusory full-body mirror suddenly vibrated, and she shook as though it was on the brink of breaking apart. And in the messy room, it reflected fragments of the bed, desk, and chairs turned gray-white, losing their luster through were rocks. The brownish-yellow floor in front of Trissy turned into grayish-white rocks as it quickly extended towards the only human in the room like a surging tidal wave. Trissy didn't attempt to resist as she turned around and waved her hand back while leaping towards the open window. In the midair, invisible spider webs that belonged to her phased into existence. They turned dark as they turned towards the grayish-white color. At the same time, the dark and profound full-body mirror produced one crack after another. Amidst illusory shattering sounds, it broke apart and vanished. However, before the full-body mirror completely vanished, the grayish-white colors receded into strange manner inside the petrified room, materializing into a figure. The figure wore a simple holy white robe. This is somebody else. Holy white robe and had luscious raven black hair. She looked both mature and innocent. Oh, it's Pele. As though she had a pair of profounded and childlike blue eyes. She was the demoness of an aging Katerina who had just been inside the warehouse a moment ago. Okay, so she's back. Have a good stream, buddy. You're going to go to bed? Yo, wait, what time is it for you? Isn't it late? Viscount Strafford, are we recording? Yes. Viscount Strafford could no longer see the situation inside the opposite room once the ghostly glow dissipated. He retracted his gaze and cast it on Charmaine. It's barely 10:30, man, if it ain't that late. He wore a mixed look in his eyes before he recovered. Trish really was patient to deal with me. She actually spent months to nurture a new Demoness. Viscount Strafford shook his head with a chuckle. What does she want you to gain from me? At that moment, with Trish's connection being severed, the spider webs around Charmaine had loosened. They were unable to bind her and restrict her freedom, so she's free. This beautiful girl wore a blank expression as she replied with a vacant look in her eyes. She wanted me to know who you are truly loyal to. Without waiting for Viscount Strafford to say a word, she asked hesitantly, her eyes make it obvious that she had difficulty finding her words. How many of those promises that you made to me were real? Viscount Strafford was taken aback before he chuckled. You're probably the most silly and most naive Demoness I've ever met. Oh shit, Strafford knew, dude. Oh shit, he knew the whole time. Charmaine was Sherman. You're probably the most silly and most naive Demoness I've ever met. Charmaine's expression froze on her face as the glimmer in her eyes that she found so hard to regain faded bit by bit. Outside the warehouse, XIO and FORS were hiding in the shadows, observing the silent target area. So they're seeing everything go down. Oh, shit. They had followed Viscount Strafford here. Their patience had paid off as they discovered their captain and royal guard secretly leaving his mansion the deed of the night. Rushing to the dock area near the Backland Bridge, using XIO's power as a sheriff, they followed him all the way here by keeping a huge distance between them. They had also confirmed that they had entered the warehouse in front of them. In addition, poor Charmaine, I feel bad for her. I think Viscount might forgive her. Like, oh, it's like, no, like, I still love you. Maybe he was being honest with Charmaine. In addition, they also sensed that Viscount Strafford's condition had worsened as though he had been injured. Maybe not. Actually, we had the opportunity to take action while on our way. FORS looked at the warehouse entrance and murmured. XIO replied without looking at her, but you said it yourself that you have a nagging feeling that things aren't that simple and wanted to wait. Probably not then. This might be the intuition of an astrologer. It might also be an act of procrastination. FORS replied in a self-deprecating manner. They didn't say anything more as silence ruled once more. They continued waiting patiently. At this moment, a pitch-black flame was ignited on the rammed earth in front of them. She's probably one of my favorite side characters. Really? Oh, shit. Hell yeah. At this moment, a pitch-black flame was ignited on the rammed earth in front of them. The strange flames rapidly dispersed and kept close to the ground as it swept away. It then outlined a row of luminous text. This is a chance you've been looking for. Shields and FORS, pupils dilate at the same time. Then they look at each other at a loss for words. After a few seconds, FORS finally couldn't help but ask, what do? We go in! We go in and take him out. Chapter 1021 is called Cross. But this is going to be our last chapter for today. All right, chapter 1021. Yeah, so we're going to do a quick, short 5-chapter stream, and that way we're just doing 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So I think this is good. With this, we've did like 30 chapters this week. And hopefully next week we read more, since I think I'm going to have Saturday and Sunday off. Chapter 1021. Fingers crossed. XIO hesitated when she heard FORS' question, and I'm questioning myself. Timestamp, recording, notes, check. Awesome. XIO hesitated when she heard FORS' question. We were discovered. They had said something similar before, but they were repeating it again now. However, it didn't have the same meaning. Previously, it was referring to being discovered by the guarding or monitor when she recognized Sherman. Now, with the crux of the matter... Oh, no. This meant that XIO had a chance... Let me reread this part, just since I got the phone call and we have to end stream 15 minutes early. They had said something similar before, but they were repeating it again. However, it didn't have the same meaning. Previously, it was referring to be discovered by the guarding or monitor when she recognized Sherman. Now, the crux of the matter, that was their choice that the corresponding actions were expected and arranged by the person behind the scenes. They had no secrets to speak of. This meant that the chance XIO had been longing for might have really appeared, but what lay behind this matter was inconvincible. If we followed the intention behind this message, the final outcome would depend on whether she had good intentions, but that's not something under our control. XIO added for a rational angle. The reason why she had used in quotation she to represent the person behind the scenes was because she had recalled the fragrance she smelled when she lost Sherman the other time. Oh. FORS listened quietly and nodded in agreement. Yes, we're too passive in this matter. The best option is to leave this place. As soon as she finished speaking, she looked at the warehouse. She opened her mouth, but didn't say anything further. She remained on the possible situation Sherman was in and suspected that he was in grave danger. However, she deliberately ignored it in the end and didn't mention it. To her, Sherman was a person who existed in XIO's description. He was no different from a character in a novel. That's such a weird way to depict people. He was no different from a character in a novel. If she had the strength and opportunity to save him in passing, she was willing to do so, but to bear the risk to become that of the allow her friend to be rash, putting her life in danger was definitely not something within her considerations. XIO nodded and said, all right, we'll leave now. However, the person who left the comment definitely wouldn't be happy to see us do so. She would definitely hinder us. Let's do it this way. We'll escape in different directions and make the person choose one person. That's not a good idea. Whoever successfully leaves the area would immediately cause a commotion and attract the official beyonders. Okay, so that's a good way to escape. She is an author after all. I guess from her point of view, I guess that does make sense since she's an author. Why don't we directly cause a commotion here? FORS subconsciously raised the question. It will definitely be stopped or foiled. XIO gave her excuse. FORS nodded thoughtfully. Makes sense. All right, let's not delay it any further. Let's begin. XIO didn't say another word as she took out her transparent, nearly invisible triangular blade. With her back bent, she leapt out of her hiding spot and ran out of the harbor amidst shadows. The triangular blade was a mystical item. She had spent 500 pounds through the Mam Hermit to get the artisan to forge with the ancient raves. Powder, and remnant spirituality. It was called Wintry Blade. Anyone hit by this weapon, even if it was a gentle touch, would be frozen stiff. They would even lose control over the thoughts as though they were possessed by a wraith. At the same time, once the battle continued, Wintry Blade's enemies would gradually have their thoughts turn sluggish and their actions become rigid and dull, even if they didn't touch the triangular blade. And Winter Blade's negative effects wasn't that terrifying. Furthermore, there was only one, the wielder, who slowly lost her body temperature and transformed into an undead. Once a certain time limit was exceeded, this process would become irreversible. Therefore, XIO had recently enjoyed jogging more or riding a bicycle at lightning speeds to generate heat to resist the loss of temperature. But even so, she had only managed to extend the time it took before she kept the Wintry Blade away from her body for 3 hours to 4 hours. After running a certain distance, XIO turned back and realized that FORS had already passed through a wall and departed. She had vanished from where they were hiding. After staring for 2 seconds, XIO bit her lip and suddenly turned around and changed directions. She headed straight for the warehouse. Soon she arrived beside her destination, but she wasn't in a rush to enter. She looked up and observed the area above her, seemingly trying to find another passageway, one that was less noticeable to the people inside. At that moment, her keen senses made her turn her head and see a figure appear around the corner of her wall. Ooh. The figure wore a black... Oh, it's Katerina. The figure wore a black dress with a head of brown, curly hair. She had a pair of light blue eyes. It was none other than FORS. Well, oh, it's FORS. Didn't you leave? Despite being surprised, XIO... Wait, no. But the dress. Isn't that Pele's dress? Didn't you leave? Despite being surprised, XIO didn't forget to lower her voice. FORS curled her lips and said, weren't you fleeing too? She was momentarily at a loss for words. Hold up. I feel like we're playing Among Us here. After a few seconds, she asked, how did you notice it? You didn't even mention Sherman. That's completely unlike you. I've already prepared a reason to persuade you. FORS quickly replied. XIO was taken aback as she said with complete expression, you didn't have to come back. FORS ignored her and pressed on the wall of the warehouse and said, if you keep talking, perhaps we will no longer need to be stumbled because it would already be over. Man, I actually didn't think of such a good idea. I actually didn't think of such a good idea just now. I should have immediately insisted on going with you to save her. You definitely would have persuaded me otherwise and would think of doing it yourself. If we repeated the conversation a few times, everything would have ended on its own. XIO gave her friend and looking without hesitantly stood by her side with wintry blade in hand. FORS immediately flipped layman travels and augmented her friend with beyond her powers. That's cool, dude. Now she's being like the support role, augmenting her. Then she put away the spellbook and grabbed XIO's shoulder with one hand, pressing on the other of the wall again. While XIO was waiting for the door opening, she realized that FORS hadn't immediately used her powers. This best-selling author took a deep breath and quickly said, after entering, we'll hide and observe. After confirming that there's a chance to do something, we'll take action. If there's really no chance, or we can't seize the opportunity for sure, we'll leave as soon as possible. That way, we can at least avenge Sherman and not be buried alive with him. Only by being alive with all kinds of possibilities open up for us, XIO immediately nodded and replied in a stern manner. Fuck. FORS wants to say a few more words, but considering how she wasted so much time and couldn't afford to waste any more time, she opened an illusionary door and passed through the wall with XIO coming behind a row of wooden crates. With her no longer being greenhorn in such operations, she instinctively crouched down and pulled out Layman Travels and flipped to a particular page. XIO similarly didn't dash in. She bent down and moved her eyes to a gap between the crates and observed the empty region. The female-looking Sherman was sitting on a wooden crate without any signs of anger. Her brown hair was gently fluttering in the wind. At the standing in front of her was Viscount Stratford. This captain of the Royal Guards tightened his collar and was surveying the area, a mystery as to what he was looking for. Unfortunately, you're only a demoness. Don't worry, I will let you die without any pain. What the fuck? You will be completely purified? Wait. What? No, now I feel bad for Sherman. You will be completely purified. As he spoke, he took out an item from his inner pocket. XIO used her enhanced vision from the interrogator potion, and she clearly identified the item. It was a cross accessory covered in bronze. There were a few sharp, jagged protrusions looking as though it had once impaled someone. Its style and characteristics were things that the various nations of the Fifth Epoch Northern Continent didn't possess. It exuded ancient vibes. Okay. Very good. You know the resistance is futile. Viscount Stratford said as he pressed one finger. Okay, Viscount Stratford is actually a piece of shit. Said as he pressed one of his fingers and he used to hold the bronze cross onto its spike. His bright red blood immediately flowed out of it and absorbed by the spike, seeping into the object. The mottled bronze on the cross's surface designated, revealing a corporeal form beneath that was a blob of light. In just a second or two, this item Viscount Stratford held, turning into a resplendent cross. Combine all three of Chad's brain cells together and get this man to do something. Wait, what do you mean, dude? Why didn't anyone tell me Badoon was alive? It was unplanned. The mottled bronze on the cross's surface disintegrated, revealing corporeal form beneath that was a blob of light. In just a second or two, the item Viscount Stratford held had turned into a resplendent cross. It emitted a pure and flawless glow, illuminating the surroundings in an abnormally bright manner. The wooden crate shadows quickly receded as the dark splotch on the walls evaporated like water. Concoct a potion live? We're gonna make something live. Beside Charmaine, the countless spiders' webs that originally belonged to Tristy floated up and struggled in the fire, melting just a mere second. The light grew brighter, but they weren't blinding. Black flames burst onto Charmaine's body along with crystalline ice. They turned dim, transparent, and eventually vanished under the illumination. Within the range of their spelling cross, there weren't any traces of evil abnormalities present. Not 1 inch of darkness remained. Seeing Charmaine's expression slowly distort, XIO couldn't help but shoot FORS a glance. She could clearly sense the terror of the resplendent cross. She was beginning to waver about saving her. FORS also noticed that she was what was happening and pointed to layman's travels. She raised her left index finger and whispered into Shio's ears, "There's only one chance. I will work hard to create it for you. If not successful, or if you can't be certain of it, we will give up, and then we gotta get out." Shio didn't hesitate as she nodded solemnly. You know what? I do respect that. She's like, we'll try and save Charmaine once, and if it doesn't happen, we're gonna leave because it's too dangerous. Shio didn't hesitate as she nodded solemnly. FORS immediately straightened her body. This is so cool, dude, that they're fucking fighting together. This is so cool, dude. Compared to Volume 1, where they were just doing recon on Quillingus, this is cool. FORS immediately straightened. Shio didn't hesitate as she nodded solemnly. FORS immediately straightened her body and flipped Layman's Travels to a charred yellow page. So this is a demigod spell. This page was filled with complicated, twisted, indescribable symbols and labels. It gave one the feeling of a strong gust of wind. Sailor's Pathway, demigod power, hurricane. Oh shit, dude. Dude, FORS actually low-key got strong now. What the fuck, dude? They're getting strong. After observing her surroundings once again and confirming that there weren't any other enemies, FORS' gaze penetrated through the gap in between the wooden crates and locked onto Viscount Stratford. She then slid her fingers gently across the shard yellow page. With an exploding whoosh, a visible hurricane soared up beneath Viscount Stratford's feet and rushed upwards. Does that kill him? The captain of the Royal Guards wasn't able to maintain his balance from this sudden attack. He was lifted up by the hurricane and slammed into the warehouse ceiling. Did he die? Boom. Please tell me like he just splatted and it's over. The warehouse's ceiling was torn apart by the hurricane as portions of it collapsed. Some of the fragments spun around amidst the wind as they flew higher and higher. Viscount Stratford nearly fainted from being slammed as he failed to hold onto the sprawling cross, allowing it to fly out of his palm. So they got separated. When the spike with a sliver of his blood left his finger, the mottled bronze covered the cross surface once more. The flawless light vanished in turn. Upon seeing this, Shield didn't hesitate to rush out of her hiding spot. Her eyes first reflected Viscount Stratford's figure before two blinding bolts of lightning lit up. Psychic piercing? Wait. Is the psychic piercing another one of FORS abilities that Audrey recorded? Easy subconscious is trying its hardest to ignore my nonsense. How'd you know? You're good on Hinge. You're good. It's good. I don't fall for the bait that much anymore, huh? All right, let's do overall thoughts. No, you're good. The only reason, I'll be honest, the only reason I wasn't reading chat that much is because I need to leave in about 2 minutes. I'm gonna go out with Mrs. right now. I got 2 minutes before we gotta dip. So I was like, I'm gonna kind of speed through this and not read Unhinge's messages just yet. This man hates his viewers. No, I wasn't hating you. I wasn't trying to hate you guys. It was a little unplanned. We only went live for a little over an hour, and we just knocked out a quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters. A quick, short 5 and sweet stream. Shio and FORS team up was not on my bingo list for this volume, but I'll take it. I think it's pretty cool, especially after we saw the OVA for next year with Shio and FORS using the door to escape Quillingus. It was pretty cool. And then seeing them fight, like seeing their progression from escaping from Quillingus to this fight, it's so fucking cool. Like, it is so warranted and earned, man. Like, they have come such a long way. After 1,000 chapters, right? 1,000 crazy chapters. We've come such a long way, man. Like, they have leveled up so much, and I fucking love it. And now they're both freaking part of the Terror Club. I love it. It's so good. Not enough. Not enough. Don't worry. It will continue tomorrow. Don't worry. Tomorrow, we will resume. I got you guys. We'll resume. Tomorrow. I got you guys tomorrow. All right, but just quick, short 5 sweet chapters. I'm going to end stream quickly because I am running out of memory space. I have to back all this shit up on the cloud so I make more space on my PC because I have not bought in an extra SSD, so I'm running out of space. So that's why streams were a little bit short. Bye, everyone. But yeah, you have also leveled up. We don't get as many Badoons anymore. Yeah, you know what? That's also true. The only time I do mess up is when I'm not in streamer mode and I had a long day. Whenever I have a long day and I don't go to the gym or I messed up my sleep schedule, like when my day hasn't flown perfectly and I'm not in streamer mode, I do Badoon right there. I do mess up quite a bit. But when I'm locked in, I'm good. I don't think I was necessarily locked in today. I don't know. I was, since it was a little bit last minute, I felt a little bit rushed since I got to head out with the missus right now as I'm getting messages. But it's okay. We'll be back tomorrow for more Lord of the Mysteries. Peace. Have a beautiful day. And I will see all you beautiful, loving readers tomorrow for our another... Oh, tomorrow's Monday. So tomorrow will be our Tarot Club Monday. So I'm going to see you guys all very soon. Peace. And have a beautiful day. And also feel free to check up our videos that we're uploading today. I think Soul Forge goes up in 4 hours and 15 minutes. I think Reverend Insanity goes up in 15 minutes from the live stream. There should be 2 more videos that go up in the next 4 hours. And then I'll also have this uploaded 4 hours after that. Peace. Have a beautiful day. Later, guys.